Okay, now it's time to talk about the most boring film of the DCU.
Those were up, and they did.
We're smarts, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for none other than the sixth film of the Snyderverse, aka the DC Extended Universe. And it's going to be for the one that came after the clusterfuck that was Joss Whedon's Justice League cut. This was, better, but still not good. And that was and it's getting a sequel that I've already heard negative reactions to. And that, of course, 2018's Aquaman, directed by James Wan, released in December 2018. What's this film about? Well, born upon the shores of the surface world, Arthur Curry discovers that he is only half human, with the other half of his blood being of Atlantean descent, thus making him the rightful heir to the throne of the undersea kingdom of Atlantis. However, Arthur learns that Atlantis is being ruled by his malicious half-brother Orm, played by Patrick Wilson, who seeks to unite the 7 underwater kingdoms and wage war upon the surface. With aid from News Volko, played by Willem Dafoe, and the gorgeous Mura, played by some person I refuse to talk about, Arthur must discover the full potential of his true destiny and become Aquaman in order to save Atlantis on the surface with Ohm's evil plot. From Ohm's evil plot. Well, yeah. Now, how was this film made? Well, in 2004, FilmJerk.com reported that Sunrise Entertainment's Alan and Peter Rich planned to bring Aquaman to the big screen for Warner Bros., with Robert Ben-Garant writing the screenplay. However, the attempt fell through, but then in 2007, Warner Bros. Announced the development of a Justice League film with Michael and Karen Mulroney writing the screenplay. The film, which was titled Justice League Immortal at the time, would have been Aquaman's cinematic debut. George Miller had been signed on to direct, but the film would be cancelled following production delays stemming from the 2007 to 2008 Writers Guild of America strike. Prior to the film's cancellation in 2008, actor Santiago Cabrera had been cast as Aquaman, and in July 2009, it was reported that Aquaman was in development at Leonardo DiCaprio's Applying Way. Warner Chairman and CEO Barry Meyer stated that an Aquaman film was in development after Man of Steel's release in 2013. A source from Warner Bros. Told The Wrap that they were discussing future films, with the mention of more Man of Steel movies as well as a Superman/Batman film, and a Wonder Woman film, and an Aquaman film. Geoff Johns told Variety that Aquaman was a priority character, and on August 12, 2014, Warner Bros. Announced that it had hired screenwriters Will Barrett and Kurt Johnston to pen separate scripts, and the film was developed on dual tracks, although only the better version would move forward. Peter Jackson would even be approached to direct the film, but he declined. Then in April 2015, Hollywood reported that James Wan was the frontrunner to direct, of Saw fame, ironically. Then in June 2015, Wan was confirmed to direct and overlook the screenplay by Johnstead. Then in November 2015, David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick was hired to write the script, but then it was unclear that it would be separate or work with Wan. Previous script plans had been scrapped, and Wan and Johns planned to move forward with a new script written by Bill. Later, Johnson McGoldrick was brought back to the project to rewrite Bell's script. Then in March 2016, they even confirmed that Aquaman would be set after the events of Justice League. And Wan confirmed the cinematographer Don Burgos, who had previously worked with Wan on The Conjuring 2, would serve as the choreographer. Pre-production began in Australia in late November 2016. So after the film was shot and marketed, Aquaman would premiere in London on November 26, 2018, and would go on to be released in the United States into theaters on December 21st, 2018. At the box office, it grossed over $1.149 billion worldwide, and it became the highest grossing film of the Snyderverse, and the only one to reach $1 billion It was the highest grossing film based on a DC Comics character, the 5th highest grossing film of 2018, and the 20th highest grossing film of all time, now 26. And when it came to critics' reactions, they were, like every other Snyderverse movie, mixed. While it did receive praise for the visual effects, the production design, the action sequences, and Jason Momoa's performance, it was criticized for its script and story. An animated miniseries that was set after the film, Aquaman King of Atlantis, aired from October 14th to October 28th, 2021. While we all know a live-action sequel, Aquaman of the Lost Kingdom is set for release on Christmas Day this year. And the test reactions are already in. And wow, they have been so awful. And knowing this film and its sequel stars a certain woman, that's probably why. As for my reaction, well, okay. I know a lot of people that watch my content really like this movie. They consider it one of their favorite films in the DCEU. I hate to say this, but I am a Snyderverse fan, but I'd have to disagree with them. I get most of you like this movie, but I just feel this might be kind of the most overrated film of the Snyderverse. Because when I first saw this in theaters, I remember finding it boring and forgettable and over CGI'd and slow. Plus, I was kind of still pissed over the disaster that was Joss Whedon's Justice League, so there was just kind of embarrassing writing, embarrassing acting, specifically from some supporting background actors. The main characters were fine. And listening to that piece of shit, Amber Turd, try to deliver this terrible dialogue with zero inflection was exhausting. Like, yeah, the fact Amber Turd is in this fucking thing is another big bad quality I have. Because I despise that chick a lot. That's the same chick that basically almost destroyed Johnny Depp's career and made up lies that he abused her when it was the exact other way around, when she actually did that to him. Yeah. So, honestly, but thank goodness for once they actually let Johnny Depp win that case for change. But back to this review. Why does half of the population of Atlantis sound like they're from California? The dialogue was never more than cliche with a predictable plot. The advanced ancient civilization hidden away from the world trope is already old. There's just so much CGI that none of the action felt impressive or tense or real. Anytime someone said Ocean Master with a straight face, I just wanted to laugh. There was no reason that I know for why Aquaman turned to the modern CGI version of The Little Mermaid, mixed with Aladdin and The Lion King. I mean, yeah. We all know Black Panther was mostly The Lion King. That came out the same year as this. It was interesting and fun in the world, but at least the world building for Black Panther was not bad. It was also overrated, but there were some things I enjoyed about Black Panther. A little more. But I still think it's overrated of the MCU. Aquaman feels cartoonish from the start to the very end. The pointless CGI, Turd's horrible wig, all the fairy tale characters that seek to show us how they are superior to people on the surface who have grown up reading about single-dimensional characters like them, the predictability that one can find in children's stories only. To be honest, the feeling I have most about this film is outrage. It's just kind of condescending and dumb. It's kind of the Hollywood version of Homer telling Bart he's stupid. And while the CGI action is sometimes fun, the dialogue is excruciatingly bad and, just embarrassingly bad, like I've already said. It's even evident with Amber Turd, who doesn't develop the skill of more experienced actors like Nicole Kidman, and Willem Dafoe to find a way to speak drivel with conviction. Turd is just terrible in this. I don't know how much of that is her and how much is the wretched verbiage she is forced to spew. Shouldn't she be and in fact, just the fact we're even keeping her in the sequel is already a dumber idea. Aquaman's plot's just incredibly weak. It doesn't offer anything interesting in DCU or the superhero genre. It's as bland as it'll ever get. The only remarkable thing about Aquaman, I guess, was the visuals. It is very pretty in the film, the most pretty of the Snyderverse. It has a vibrant color palette, good cinematography, and decent CGI for the most part. The camera movement and the fight scenes were by far my favorite part about the film. But none of the characters were really interesting, except for Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman. His character was still decently written here. He was definitely written much better than in Joss Whedon's JL. But he has some kind of mixed moments. Like, at first he's down to earth and serious, and halfway through the movie, I wish he kind of just started acting like a bit of a dumb kid and cracked some childish jokes. I kind of wish they kind of didn't do that to his character. I don't know if there was some kind of jarring rewrite, but it was jarring to watch. And you got two villains of the story, Black Manta and King Orm. Both of these villains are just so forgettable and bland. The only thing that's unique between the two is Black Manta's armor, and antagonists are kind of by far the worst part about Aquaman. The plot is generic too, it doesn't do anything thought-provoking, and it's just a cliche superhero story. Now, when it comes to Patrick Wilson's character, I did like him as a character. I don't really kind of see him as a villain. Just kind of more of a tragic, misguided ruler who just got kind of misguided was all. I mean, you can kind of see why he wanted to, destroy the upper surface. Here, I felt he was written well. You could kind of understand his motives, to be fair. I honestly was kind of rooting for him, knowing that a lot of the citizens in the Snyderverse are kind of unlikable and rude, especially in Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, where they view Superman as a threat, despite the fact that he basically saved them from Zod and stuff. And then somehow, when Superman sacrifices himself, they suddenly yay, he's a hero, never mind, we're sorry we mistreated him. Yeah, no. There's many reasons I was kind of on King Orm's side with this one. Yeah, I kind of wish Patrick Wilson did kind of win. But hey. At least he kind of realized he realized his misguidance and he accepted his defeats, so bravely. Once he found out that the Queen was still alive, he allowed himself to be arrested, stuff, so. And likely so he can start improving himself, so that was, at least there's a good kind of tragic anti-hero there, right there. Suspension of disbelief is even sometimes you must be willing to engage with any regular movie. With superhero movies, it's always something of a foregone conclusion. Naturally, with the inevitable fantasy element that is attached to the story. Even by these standards, Aquaman, one of the most recent additions to the staple, pushes the boundaries. It starts off in 1985. The Queen leaps out of the water by some guy's house, comes into his life. They live as a couple and they raise a son, which is Arthur. But this brief spark of incredibility serves as a sweetener for the lengthy vapidness that was to follow. For the wrap up here, this movie was directed by James Wan. You all horror fans know James Wan. He made his directional debut with Saw in 2004. That gave widespread success as hell. Launched his career. And of course, we all know that movie launched a bunch of cash grab sequels. Then in 2007, he did two films back-to-back. A horror film and a more gangster film, or a more mafia film. Dead Silence, March 2007. Death Sentence, August 2007. Then, of course, around 2011, he did another horror film again, Insidious, which was also successful. 2013, he did two films again, Conjuring 1, Insidious 2. 2 months apart from each other. And then he took a break from horror. His first non-horror movie he directed was the best Fast and Furious movie, Furious 7, which to me ends the franchise. So at least James Wan really knew to tug at the heartstrings with Furious 7, and he perfectly wrapped up the franchise with that movie. And then in 2016, he went back to horror with The Conjuring 2. and then took a break from horror again and directed this. He has quite a versatile filmography, and it was based on horror mysteries, so he seemed like a questionable choice to bring out a DCEU film to the big screen. Like, he has a passion for the supernatural genre, so... But man, so... Honestly, this guy does have a career. This guy already has a big, huge spotlight career. You would never expect the guy who directed Saw would actually go on to direct a DC movie. It's crazy. As for the rest of the cast, including Jason Momoa, they're fine. Like from Patrick Wilson to Willem Dafoe to Dolph Lundgren to good old Nicole Kidman, they're all decent. Professional jobs with what they are given. What they're kind of given is weak and disjointed. Well, Jason, Patrick, and Willem's characters were good characters. I like those three characters, like I've already mentioned. And I would like to point out Yahya Abdul-Mateen as a sub-villain in this piece, Black Manta. He's just he was probably the most unneeded and competent supervillain in any superhero movie to date. It's just Black Manta was there to just be there, and to give Aquaman someone to beat, for a change. And Aquaman always beats him again, and again, and again. Like, I was most disappointed because of the incredible potential of this material. Like, Wan really showed incredible imagination. He just crammed way too much into one movie. The incredible potential for Anantis world building is clearly there, but he's just blasted through at such a wastefully fast pace. There's enough content for 3 movies crammed to a span of 2.5 hours. Like, picture this. The film could have simply introduced Aquaman and Black Manta, 2 origin stories as the core of the film. This would allow more time for proper character development and plot development. Glimpses of the Atlantis culture could be included. Mara's character could get a better actress, I like. And her character would begin investigating this half-breed, assisting Aquaman with his battle against Black Manta, and the end of the film would tease the unrest of the Seven Kingdoms. Film 2, the War of the Seven Kingdoms begins. Aquaman is not crowned king yet, but still plays a vital role in protecting the surface-dwelling world, and perhaps Orm remains Prince, a minor antagonist, and his father is still alive. The primary antagonist that stirs conflict. This allows so much more time for world building and character development for these amazing Seven Kingdoms, and then you got maybe film 3, if it were able to happen. Orm becomes the main antagonist after the defeat of his father, and stirs conflict again in the Seven Kingdoms. Aquaman journeys to the trench to discover his mother, claim the trident, and become king, ending the conflict, defeating Orm, and bringing peace to Atlantis. Now that's a trilogy right there. I would have liked that better. Okay? That's, to me, my opinion anyways. And not even when Aquaman acquires the super weapon Atlantis trident, guarded by the ancient powerful monster Karathan, are there any suspense. There's actually no fight at all, so the movie seriously lacks suspense. Like, what's worse is, Arthur himself doesn't seem to think there's any either. He mostly cracks some weak jokes and seems to take very little seriously. So why should we? Like, when Arthur and Mara find this object, Arthur's literally like, we could have just peed in it. That's disgusting! I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear a piss joke in a DC movie. Gross. Especially if it's aimed at a character played by an actress I hate. Stop it. Another side effect of all the weak jokes I find is that Arthur and Mara never even develop any chemistry either. Like, their chemistry just sucks in this film. And everything was just forced and everything fell flat. And the scene where Arthur pulls a sword from the king of something was insane in the bad way. A huge boring creature stops him until Aquaman tells him to deal with it, or some such thing as I said, well, no one has pulled a trident for the king's hand yet, so when he failed, I'm super hungry, or something like that. But when I was in the theater, I was just checking my phone waiting for the movie to end or almost falling asleep. Like, this feels like it runs at 2 to 3 days in length. At times, like, this does not even feel like 143 minutes. This felt way longer than that. Like, they did not even pace the movie well. Like, they could have paced this movie better. Like, wow. But now for the good qualities, I'll say that Jason Momoa gives a good performance as Aquaman like he always did. and actually made the character memorable for a change. After all the criticisms he used to get from many comic book fans that he just talks to fish, he's useless, this movie finally proved him unuseless and actually made him useful. At least Snyder actually gave him a purpose this time and actually gave his character a reason to exist. Like, why couldn't these people just write his comics? He would probably be taken more seriously then. And also, visually, the movie's stunning. The setting in Atlantis is wondrous, and I really like the use of electronic music and the neon lights. But it's not enough to carry a movie. The action is still good, but it's not like it isn't an entertaining movie, but it doesn't really live up to the competition here. So sadly, Aquaman is just one of those films I just didn't like while everyone else clearly did. So, in the end, Aquaman is one DCU movie, along with the one I just ranted on last time. I recommend it to avoid watching because it just wasn't memorable or enjoyable to me. And I already heard the sequel is worse. And I'm not surprised. Anyway, that's it for my review of Aquaman. If you're wondering how I'm going to rank Aquaman, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you are an Aquaman fan, you aren't going to get much enjoyment out of this film, I'm sorry, because as it feels way too long, so I would honestly avoid watching this movie. If you're wondering how I'm going to rank Aquaman, I'm going to give Aquaman a 5 out of 10. There we go. That wraps up my review for Aquaman. Well, only one more DCU review to go, and then that will complete the DCU series until the one that will be coming out soon gets released. And yeah, we're going to the film that this upcoming release is a sequel to for the last DC review till then. And for it introduced a new character, introduced me to a character I have never heard of, and to me, honestly, and you all know, is the true Captain Marvel. Till then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe to Don G. Corleone.